my goodness.
Oh my goodness.
I'm so sorry. We're muted. We're muted. Thank you. Thank you, Kendall, for telling us that. We will now repeat and start at the beginning again.
Thank you. So, all right. We're going to rewind.
Try that again.
Alrighty.
All right. I'm Kate Burnett. I coordinate our Hour of Code campaign at code.org.
I'm Tanya Parker. I am a product manager and engineer here at code.org.
Hi, I'm Alice. I run our product and marketing teams here at code.org.
All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, especially the people who gave us a heads up. We were muted. We're excited to jump back in. Our quick agenda is we're going to go over what to do before your Hour of Code, what to do in the classroom, and then we can do a bit of questions and answers. You guys have already found the Q&A part. And then the other app you might want to look at is our showcase. That's where we are showing links that might be helpful for you. So hopefully everyone on this webinar has already been contacted by a teacher and you've already started coordinating. Alice is going to go over a few tips if you haven't yet been contacted but you still want to volunteer.
Okay, so we know some of you guys have not been contacted. It's a tough one because a lot of our volunteers tend to be in tech regions like Seattle or San Francisco. Whereas I was just talking to a teacher yesterday in rural Georgia who has not managed to find a volunteer yet for her classroom. And so we're encouraging those teachers that are spread out all over the world to reach out remotely because, you know, where the teachers are is not necessarily where the volunteers are. If you are in a remote place and some of the teachers have said they've reached out, but volunteer was already volunteering in another classroom. If you can volunteer in more than one classroom, I know the teachers would appreciate it. If you are in a tech hub and you haven't been reached, two things you can do. One is please, you know, just hang on. We're trying to encourage the teachers to reach out doing remote chats. They may or may not want to do that. Thank you for volunteering. We really appreciate it. If you don't get contacted now, we'll be in contact with you. Maybe you can volunteer for Hour of Code next year. We'll also ask you if you're interested in other opportunities, and we'll see if there's other ways you can help a school. The other thing you can do is you can proactively reach out to a school. We can't list, for privacy reasons, all of the school addresses that are doing Hour of Code on our website. But if you just reach out to your local school, oftentimes they will be doing the Hour of Code and they would love your help. Or maybe they're not doing the Hour of Code and you reaching out to them, you can help them figure out how to do the Hour of Code and do it with a classroom. I've done, you know, in my experience, I personally have reached out to a bunch of schools and classrooms, and they've always been excited about the idea of having somebody come in and do an Hour of Code with the classroom. So I'd recommend you just try reaching out to a local school. But thank you again for volunteering if you have not been contacted.
All right, so thank you so much, Alice, for kind of going over what to do if you haven't been contacted. If you're already in contact with your school, we want to review kind of the steps you need to make sure you've taken care of before you show up next week. So first and foremost, it's really important that you've identified with your teacher a day and a time you can go to her class. Be sure to give yourself a little bit of time to show up before. You'll need to sign in at the front office. Even before you get to the classroom, every school is most likely going to have you fill out some sort of form before you arrive for outside volunteers. If you haven't done that already, it's really important that you contact your teacher today to make sure you filled out all the paperwork so you can show up without a hitch next week. Be sure you've talked to your teacher about kind of what he or she is expecting when you're in the classroom. This volunteer program is first and foremost an opportunity for you to show students what all of the opportunities are with computer science, and so it's much more of an inspirational and a mentorship opportunity than necessarily providing technical help in the classroom. So we want to make sure that expectation is clear with teachers as well. And then finally, this weekend is your chance to try the Hour of Code tutorials. So we've got awesome brand new tutorials for students who can read. Our Minecraft and Star Wars tutorials have been a hit. We're already seeing students who've tried them and teachers who've tried them loving it. If you're working with pre-readers, the FOOs is another great opportunity, and all of our tutorials are listed at code.org/learn. So please do check it out so that you're not totally lost in the woods when you show up next week. The last thing we've linked to in our showcase bar is kind of a list of tips that one of our partners has put together. This is an awesome document you can review to think about what you want to do in your classroom. It's kind of a sample agenda. Some things they suggest when you show up are talking about both what you do professionally and how computer science interacts with your day-to-day, but also what you're doing outside of work to kind of showcase that, you know, people who are doing computer science are doing all sorts of things beyond computer science as well.
Kate, I'm confused. I thought people who do computer science just sit in a basement all day, in the dark preferably.
Well,
that's all they do.
Alice, that's exactly why we have this volunteer program. Is the Hour of Code is all about smashing stereotypes of computer computer science. And so we really want to show students that computer science is not just a nerdy activity, although if you want to sit in a basement and code away,
You have the option.
that's the option. But our code is so much about introducing students, especially students who maybe not as inclined to try computer science because they don't usually see people who look like them or do things that are interesting for them. And so, you know, talk about what computer science is, not just from a coding perspective, but what kind of products are you creating? What kind of experiences are you creating? What's your favorite fun project you've created with computer science? We really want to show students that, you know, this is a discipline that's not just for the nerds, it's not just for, you know, the people who've been doing it for the last 30 years. Anybody can learn and everybody should learn.
Yeah, one of the things that I like to do when I go into a classroom is I start out, I tell the story. I'm sure a lot of you guys have a similar story of what the first program you ever made was. And the reason to share that is oftentimes it's a game or something fun or something that really relates to kids because they're the same age. My first one was when I was in 7th grade, and I figured out how to make my computer. If my little brother tried to break into it, it would beep really loudly, and then in big letters, ASCII art, would say, "Seth, you are trying to break into my computer. This incursion has been logged." And so, you know, that kind of story is just fun. It makes it seem more relatable. Or if, you know, you build an app, or if you've done something that relates to something you actually want to do, those are really fun. And you can also share a hobby outside of work, you know, like, hey, I'm really into whatever it is. Knitting, art, you know, you name it, whatever you do outside of work, photography, and then that just makes you seem more human, which is great.
Absolutely. So like, again, we've listed in our showcase tab this list of, it's a volunteer file and you can see us teaching chips. So please check that out. Now I see we already have some questions in there. We're just gonna go through a quick little bit on the agenda and then we'll get to everybody's questions. When you're thinking about what to bring to your day of, if you're working for a company, it'd be awesome if you want to bring some swag. Students pretty much of all ages love stickers, pens, anything else you want to bring to the classroom. Again, like Al said, bring your personal story. How did you get into computer science? And definitely bring your enthusiasm. So we're going to do a brief section on kind of day of. What does it look like while you're actually there? So sign in to your school and greet the teacher. And just confirm the agreed schedule. Spend 5 to 10 minutes talking about computer science with the introduction, share a short story, share how CS has many broad implications.
Actually, you know, before you do that, before you actually start talking, I think the best way to start off is we've got a bunch of videos, these inspirational videos. And okay, so depending on the age of the classroom, you got a bunch of kids. They're loud, they're noisy, they're sort of everywhere. The teacher's usually pretty good at getting them to like pay attention. If you haven't been in a classroom in a long time, it's kind of fun. You know, there'll be a little bit of like, like 1, 2, 3, look at me, you know, kind of thing that they do. Quiet coyotes. Yes. So, you know, play along with the teacher. So if the teacher's like, everybody do a little do and silence, then you get to do it too. And that was the last classroom I was in. That was their silence move. So yeah, so you can do something like that. And then I love to start with a video because it takes the pressure off you. It gets the kids all looking at something. It gets them all quiet. They start with the video. We've got a bunch of inspirational videos on the site. They're 60 seconds, 5 minutes long, really short things, and just gets everybody like, oh, this is what computer science is about. And then you can do your little 5-minute intro. You don't want to go too long because the point of it is to let the kids try actually coding. So definitely don't talk for 30 minutes. Like the kids, the goal is to get them in front of a computer and get them experiencing it. And then you can walk around the classroom once they're going, you know, helping out. But yeah, really, you know, usually a short video and then a really quick intro is the best way to kick things off. And you can also bring them back at the end. Oh, I'm sure you're getting there, to come back and talk. So you don't feel like you have to say everything at the beginning. Just quick intro is the best way to go.
Absolutely. So once you've given your quick intro, what you'll definitely want to do is dive into the tutorials. So classrooms are going to have different needs. You might be in a computer lab where every student's on their own computer. You might be in a classroom where there's a limited number of computers and we're doing pair programming. They have a laptop cart. Maybe they don't have any computers and they're actually doing one of our super fun unplugged activities where everybody's up and moving around. Again, to make sure you talk to your teacher ahead of time so you have an expectation of kind of what you're going to be working with. But once you dive into the tutorials, help, you know, play a supporting role for the students learning. So make sure we're letting students, you know, we want to see students learn for themselves and kind of puzzle through the tutorials. They're definitely going to, certain levels will be easier, certain levels will be harder. So it's kind of, we love having the volunteer there to say, oh, okay, you know, well, what might the answer be? Definitely letting the students learn for themselves. And then, like Alice said, once you've kind of gone through your hour of code, maybe some of the students have finished, maybe all of them have finished, you maybe come back, do another kind of brief talk, maybe what did we learn today, ask a few questions, maybe have the students say, like, what was your favorite part about today? What are you excited to create with code next? And then, do we want to make a quick notice about photos and pictures?
Oh, right. If you do want to take pictures of the event, please check with the teacher that this is okay. You need to have approval from the teacher and the student's parents for legal reasons and privacy reasons. You shouldn't be posting to your social media accounts unless you do have prior permission. But we're very, very interested in getting pictures, so please do take some pictures. If you do get approval, send them in to us. We love sharing that. It'd be great to see how your events went.
Yeah, tag them #hour of code so we can see them and everybody else can see them.
All right, so that's kind of our brief overview of what the agenda looks like. Alice, do you have any final wrap-up comments, or should we dive into answering questions?
I think we can dive in. Let's answer some questions. So the first question, if you don't get contacted by a school of your choice, can you volunteer for a school? Absolutely, you can volunteer for a school if you don't get contacted. I said this earlier, if they missed it. We know a lot of you haven't been contacted, especially if you live in a tech hub, because there's a lot of volunteers in San Francisco and not a lot of volunteers in Arkansas. But if you live in a tech hub and you have not been contacted, go contact a school. I have done this multiple times. Teachers love it. Schools love it. Sometimes they're already doing an hour of code and they would love to have somebody help them out. Sometimes they are not doing an hour of code. And I have talked to so many teachers. I'm like, a first grade teacher, I reach out and I'm like, hey, are you doing the hour of code? Would you like me to come in and just spend an hour with your classroom doing the coding exercise? And they're thrilled. They're thrilled to have somebody come in and do it. They didn't think they could do it. Last year I was working with this teacher who was like, we can do it, but I don't know anything about the computer, so you have to be in charge, and I'm afraid of it. And as long as you've got the whole thing, we can do it. And she was just nervous all the way up through it. We finished it, and at the end of it, she said to me, she said, that was really fun. Can I do a coding club? And so just being there and being that support can help trigger for that teacher the ability to feel confident to go do it on their own after that. So yes, please reach out. Please reach out.
Absolutely. The hour of code is as much a learning experience for teachers as it is for students. We have so many teachers say like, wow, I didn't even know I could teach computer science, and now they're signed up to teach like our 20-hour course for K through 5. Yeah.
So which video works best? I think they're really short. You can just watch them and see what you think makes sense for different age groups. There's a new one that we have this year that's about inspiring girls. If you're in like an all-girls school or something that's more girls-oriented, like a girls club, that would be the one I would show. It's all about encouraging women in computer science. If you're at a school that's, boys and girls, I recommend one of the other ones. And we have, what I like to do is typically, I'm going to bring them up so I can remember the exact name of it, but I like to play, so Change the World, which is the first one that you'll see on the Inspire Students video page, is the one for all girls. And then what I like to play is the first one here, either the computer science intro, which is 1 minute long, or the hour of code is here, which is also a really fun one for classes. So you can watch those both, see which one you like more, and try one of those. Yeah. If you have longer, it depends. If you have more time in the classroom, you can play a longer one. So it really just depends how long, a lot of classes, it's an hour of code, but you actually have more like 40 minutes because you've got you get started, the kids have to get there, they have to open their laptops, they have to get started, you play the video, you do a quick intro. The kids have like 30 minutes to code before class is over, in which case you really want to compress it as more so you have more time for the kids to actually do the activity.
Absolutely. So do we have any more questions? If you want to submit them to our Q&A little tab, we can answer any final wrap-up questions you might have about volunteering next week.
So I know while we're waiting to see if anybody else has questions. Oh, here it is. Next question. What if the school does not provide access to computers at all? What would you suggest? Yes. So you don't actually need computers at all to do the hour of code. You can do the hour of code with no computers. We have a lot of, if you go to our site, code.org/learn, there's a section on unplugged lessons. And so if you look at those, there are a bunch of activities that teach the concepts of computer science without actually needing any computers. So I would recommend you look through those. Now, when you do those, you do need to be prepared to do them in the class. So some of them require you to have cups for the kids to do a cup stacking activity. So make sure either you or the teacher is bringing the cups into the classroom, because you don't want to get there and not be ready to teach those. And those do require a little bit more work from you, because if you're teaching an unplugged lesson, it's not just put the kids in front of the computer and let the computer teach it. You've got to run that in front of the classroom. So if you are doing an unplugged lesson and you don't have computers, it is important that you read through that and go through it and get ready and bring the materials. If you're doing with computers, another way to think about it is you can do it. You don't need a computer for every student. Pair programming is tons of fun. The kids really learn from each other. So go ahead and try bringing, 2 kids per student, 2 students per computer, or you can do things like try different devices. So if you guys have tablets instead of computers, or you have, we really have stuff that works on, the tutorials will work on any different device type. So.
We had a question about which URL for the videos. So that's code.org/educate/inspire. And I've also posted the link in the showcase. If you click the yellow little Post-it note tab, you'll be able to have a quick link to go to see the videos, list of videos. It's also in the agenda doc.
Which is listed in our chat box.
Which is listed in our chat box. Okay, I will take the next question.
This is a great question about what tutorials are more appropriate for high school students, and what would you recommend for students maybe in elementary school?
Yeah, so if you look on code.org/learn, at the very top, there are tutorials that we've made at code.org. Those are designed to work from grades, basically as soon as they can read. So grade 1 or 2, depending on when the kids read, all the way through, some kindergartners, all the way through high school. And if you do them with second graders, they won't finish in an hour, and that's fine. They'll just get a really fun experience for an hour, and they'll be done, and they'll get partway through the experience. If you do them with high school students, they probably will finish in an hour, and then they'll have time as free play levels at the end. So in, say, the Star Wars one, they get to the end and they can make their own Star Wars game. And so I watched one group of high school students get through the whole thing, and then they went over the time. They spent an extra hour just making Star Wars games, and that's totally fine. The kids had a great time with it. The Star Wars one actually has 2 versions. One version if the kids can't type yet, and you'll see when you go there, there's 2 go buttons, one for blocks for younger kids, and then one for older students. It's in JavaScript, and the kids who can type can go even further with that. And we've tested them on all those grades, so we know that they do work all the way up through high school. And then if you go below our section, the other tutorials are grouped by age. And so the very top section there says JavaScript. Those tutorials, it's Khan Academy, I think we have Code Academy in there, Code HS. All of those tutorials are designed for older students. They all involve typing, and they're great for high school students. So if you're looking for high school students, that's where I'd start. If you are looking for younger students, it's also asking about middle school or elementary school kids, grades 4 to 5. Again, the ones at the top will work great. You can also, where it says grades K through 8, there are great activities in there. My son is in 4th grade, and he had a blast with the Tinker tutorial. Scratch is also great. There's lots of great tutorials in there, so just flip through that list, and you can play with them, but we've pre-selected everything in there. Should be a good tutorial, or it wouldn't be on the site.
Now we have a good, is that what you were about to talk about?
Yeah, the rewrite our own lessons.
Yes.
Yeah, so there is a new section at the bottom of code.org/learn for teacher-led lesson plans, and there's a curated list of customized lesson plans that teachers have written. So you're definitely encouraged to create your own custom hour of code event that works best for your students in your classroom. So if you scroll down to code.org/learn, you'll see it's called teacher-led lesson plans, and you'll have a big long list of inspire yourselves to create your own. But yes, absolutely, you can create your own lesson plan.
Yeah, and actually it's worth pointing out, so all of our lesson plans are designed for, except for the teacher-led ones. Everything else is designed for teachers who don't know computer science. And so they're self-led, the students go in front of the computer, and so a teacher who has no computer science can do this with their students. You guys know computer science, so you actually can do more than what's in the activities. You also, I know computer science, and I still have tons of fun with the student-led lesson plan, so that's what I'm planning to do this year, is just one of the student-led ones and help them out and let the kids have fun with it. But if you want to do something more custom because you know computer science, go for it. You can do that.
This is just a good question of what's a good way to get in contact with the local school. So we just recommend, if you go to hourofcode.com, you'll see our big ginormous map with all of our events. We've actually hit our event cap, so we can't even add more new events because we've hit 150,000, which is pretty incredible. We're about triple what we had last year. So yeah, if you go to the map and you find a school that's listed in your area, just look them up and maybe give their front office a call and say, hey, I saw that you're doing the RF code. I'm a volunteer. Could you put me in contact with the teacher who's participating and see if I could help out in the classroom?
And you can also contact the school that's not doing it. If you have a kid, I'd start with your own kid's school because you're a parent, you know the school, that's a great place to start. If you don't have a student at the school, if you just call the school, you can start with the front desk or ask if there's a science teacher at the school or a technology teacher at the school. If it's a younger school, like an elementary school, they probably won't have one of those. So you can just ask for, like a contact for third grade teachers or something that you want to work with, and see if they'll put you in touch or see if they'll forward your message that you're a volunteer.
And we also have a list of the events, so you don't have to go clicking on each dot in your area. You can also go to rfco.com/events to see all the events that are happening in your state. And it'll also say which city they're in, so you can search by that.
So we just have a few minutes left. We'll do some wrap-up questions. So this is a good question. Are schools only happening offline in schools or can happen online as well? Definitely both. It's just going to depend on each school's capacity for getting laptops into the classroom or the internet connectivity. So definitely just talk to your teachers so you know and they know kind of what the expectation is, what tutorial you're going to do, if it's online or offline.
If you have the choice at your school, in my experience, what's the easiest to get working and working well is to do one of the online tutorials and use the computers, the school's computers. If you haven't been to a school recently, a lot of schools these days won't have computers in the classroom if you just go in there, but if you ask, the teacher can get computers into the classroom because they have things like laptop carts that they bring between the classroom. So if the teacher reserves it in advance, you can have computers and internet connectivity in the classroom. So trying to coordinate with the teacher on that is a good idea.
Great. So do we have any final wrap-up questions? And otherwise, I think this has been recorded. It's online. We've put a lot of links in the showcase sidebar, so please check them out. Just to highlight again, code.org/learn is where you can find all of the tutorials. We've highlighted a handy kind of PDF of tips for what to do when you're in the classroom. We've linked to our inspirational videos, which you might want to show before you get started. And we've also linked to rfco.com/events to find an event in your area if you haven't been in contact with a teacher yet. Alice, do you have any final remarks before we wrap up?
Thanks for volunteering. We really appreciate it. And I know the teachers really appreciate it. We've got a ton of requests this year for volunteers, so really appreciate you guys stepping up and doing that.
Hope you have fun.
Yeah. Thanks so much, everybody.
Have a good day.
Bye.